Buenos dias from Greenway Parks. This is the Rorschach Argentina update from the 9th of May 2024. A quick summary of what's going down in Argentina. To kick off this week, some updates on Milei's proposed law reform packet. Even though the lower house approved the bill on the 30th of April, objections quickly arose in the Argentine Senate when the debating began on Tuesday the 7th of May. Senators from the provinces of Chubut and Santa Cruz were already poised to reject the draft law because it brought back the income tax, which would primarily affect oil workers from their provinces. Many lawmakers were also against the bill granting additional powers to the executive branch. They don't want to give the president more influence in legislative matters. For now, the bill's future is still unknown. The General Confederation of Labor, or CGT, called for a general strike for Thursday the 9th to protest the government's cuts in public spending. For instance, Héctor Daer, the head of the Healthcare Workers Union, said that the government had not yet validated the salary increases meant to offset inflation agreed upon in collective bargains between private companies and unions. Luis Caputo, the economy minister, spoke in an interview about ratifying the salary raise. He argued that raising salaries to a percentage higher than the projected inflation rates would drive up prices and that the government would not approve something that created a problem. The executive also announced that they would deduct a day of salary from every civil servant who adhered to the strike. Up next, what is going on with President Milei's Supreme Court candidate? In late April, the government presented federal judge Ariel Lijo as a candidate for Argentina's Supreme Court. Milei says he chose him because the judge and the president's party shared the same ideologies. Of course, not everyone was happy with Lijo's nomination. The Buenos Aires Bar Association, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the National Law Academy are only three of the many organizations that pronounced themselves against Lijo's candidacy, citing concerns about his ethics. Their main criticism was that the corruption cases he was in charge of tended to stagnate. Now, Maria Eugenia Talarico, the president of the law group It Shall Be Justice, or Será Justicia, echoed previous concerns and added that Lijo did not have enough academic experience to be considered an expert in his field either. Moving on to foreign policy, it seems Argentina's new government has caused a splash, but not in the way many hoped. It all started on Saturday, the 4th of May, when Oscar Puente, the Spanish transport minister, said Argentina's president had, quote, ingested substances, unquote, implying that he was on drugs. The Argentine government then released a statement saying Puente's words were, quote, slander and insults, unquote, and mentioned Pedro Sanchez's government had more important issues to worry about, like the corruption accusations against Sanchez's wife. The Spanish government then released an official statement, too, saying that the content of Argentina's communique did not seem proper for two peoples and countries that shared a brotherly bond. Puente later apologized for his words and said he did not expect them to have as much impact or spread as far as they did. About the economy, the government announced that it will lower taxes on several imports. These include products such as fridges, washing machines, and tires. Manuel Adorni, the presidential spokesperson, said that the measure was meant to, quote, adjust the tax percentages to be on a par with other Mercosur countries, unquote. For appliances, the tax on importing appliances will go from 35 to 20%. On the other hand, tire import taxes will see a reduction from 35% to 16%, and those on plastic supplies will go from around 12% to 6%. The government hopes this measure will lower costs and, in turn, lower prices for consumers. In more economic news, on Tuesday the 7th, Argentina's central bank announced the launch of the 10,000 peso bill. The brand new bill arrived days ago from China and is being distributed to banks nationwide. Its design features portraits of two important figures in Argentine history, Maria Remedios del Valle and Manuel Belgrano. Manuel Belgrano was a key lawmaker and general during the Argentine independence process and the creators of the country's flag. Maria Remedios del Valle was an Argentine soldier of African descent who fought in the independence wars as part of the Northern Army. Her bravery earned her a sergeant major rank and the title of Mother of the Homeland, or Madre de la Patria. It seems President Milei managed to impress Elon Musk during their meeting on Monday the 6th. The Argentine president had traveled to the U.S. on Saturday to speak at the Milken Institute's Global Conference. At the event, Milei called on business people to take a chance on the country. The president had also praised Musk for his efforts in sending humans to Mars. Both the speech and the praise evidently worked, since on Tuesday the 7th, Musk posted on Twitter, or X, the platform he owns, that he recommended people invest in Argentina. On Sunday the 5th, Diego Kravitz, the security minister of Buenos Aires City, made headlines when he announced that the city government would no longer allow homeless people to sleep on the street. The city's government has been cracking down on those who sleep outside, actively relocating them to shelters, taking down camps, and searching their belongings for knives or makeshift weapons. Kravitz stated that their aim was to reduce crime. However, one issue is that the shelters do a mandatory background check. People with arrest warrants are reluctant to sleep there because they don't want the police to detain them. The city government estimates that around 57% of those who go to shelters have a record. Let's leave the city and shift the focus to the countryside. Rising temperatures have brought about a proliferation of a leafhopper species that is now threatening Argentina's corn production. These insects carry a disease that stunts the corn and causes damage to the kernels and cobs. Regular frosts once checked the insect spread, but with winters becoming warmer, farmers fear these plagues might become more and more frequent. Christian Russo, the head of the agricultural estimates at the city of Rosario Grains Exchange, estimated that Argentine corn production would go from 60 million to 50.5 million tons. Last week, we talked about President Milei's presentation at the Buenos Aires Book Fair. The president was set to make an appearance on Sunday the 12th of May to promote his new book, Capitalism, Socialism, and the Neoclassical Trap. Nevertheless, he has now pulled out of the event, saying his staff believed there could be an attempt to sabotage the event in a violent way. As a justification, he cited that Alejandro Vaccaro, the president of the foundation that organizes the fair, criticized the government in his inauguration speech, so Milei would be entering a hostile environment. And to close this edition, a long-lost award belonging to Argentine soccer ace Diego Maradona has resurfaced and is set to go up for auction in June. Maradona's World Cup Golden Ball Award from the 1986 had reportedly been stolen in 1989. However, a collector bought it unknowingly in 2016. The Golden Ball was given to Maradona during the 1986 Mexico World Cup, which Argentina won. Previous Maradona memorabilia has fetched $8.8 million in auction, so it's expected the award will carry a pretty hefty price tag. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. By the way, if you're catching us on Spotify, did you know you can drop us a comment or question right there on the episode? It's super easy. The comments are kept private, so feel free to share your thoughts or queries and your email without hesitation, so we can get back to you. Go ahead and write something in those comments. We can't wait to hear from you. Nos vemos la próxima semana.